evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
Nope.
No. Unless you want to count having gas in a container as having not gas, or having gas not in a container, then it could be possible.
I see. So if I was to show you a demonstration of gas pressure without a container inside a container, that could be a demonstration of gas pressure without a container, but just a container used to demonstrate gas pressure without a container. That sort of demo.
Yes.
Yeah, it kind of ignores the question, though, doesn't it? How can you have gas pressure without a container? Doesn't imply that we want to see a container creating a space that doesn't have gas pressure without a container. That makes no sense because you've got a container. Another shout out to Retro Bill. Wow, it's just dropping loads of cash on me. Thank you very much. It is tough times, though. I'm definitely not going to say no. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Retro Bill. Just a little something extra to cover those pesky YouTube fees. Thanks, Arwin. I think your comment got me an extra super chat. Thank you, seriously, Retro Bill. Really do appreciate it. This was the former number one, the best globe debunking there was prior to the Black Swan, which we've covered already in terms of the geometric horizon. That's the Black Swan argument, if anybody hadn't figured that out. But gas pressure without a container, former number one, down one at number two, is equally as good. You know, if you crick your neck if you've got a window nearby and look at the sky for a moment, if you're an audience member, and ask yourself this question. If the sky was a vacuum, how am I breathing any gas? The gas I'm breathing would evacuate into that space. That's what gas does. Expands in all directions to fill the available volume it has available to fill. And if the sky is a vacuum, then that's an available volume for the gas to fill. And the gas would expand in all directions and fill that space. Not just quickly, instantaneously. So we'd all be here with no gas. But we do have gas, and the necessary antecedent is a container. Hence the question, how can you have gas pressure without a container, given that the globe Earth model has us as a sphere in a vacuum without any containment? Got little ships flying out to what are claimed to be rocks in the sky vacuum, also defying natural law. Nevertheless, we don't have a container in the heliocentric model, we're just gas clinging to this rock that's flying at absolutely astronomical speeds. But the gas doesn't fly off, it just holds here. And the rebuttal we get is gravity. Well, no, gravity's not overcoming entropy. And I'll use Mark Sargent's shortcut to explain this. If your first floor is a vacuum, and your ground floor is normal gas pressure, and there's a cork between the two, what is actually occurring when the cork is in place is the gas pressure is hitting the cork and bouncing off it. As soon as you remove the cork, there's nothing for the gas pressure to bounce off of, so it all goes through the hole, upwards into the vacuum, and equalises. So the gas fills the space, regardless of the direction being upward. So the assertion that we have a non-force force that you can think of as a force called gravity, actually the bending of a conceptual medium known as space-time, only existing in the reified idea of a man called Einstein, permeated amongst the masses through books and education, this non-force force that you can think of as a force bending of conceptual medium pseudo-Riemannian force space, won't overcome entropy, which is a natural law. The gas will fill the space. If the sky was a vacuum, we would not be breathing, because the gas would fill the space. Now, why go through all this diatribe? Well, it's asserted the sky is a vacuum, called outer space. Irony of irony, they call it space. A space for the gas to fill? Yeah, they're just laughing at us. Well, all the photos that are claimed to prove Earth's sphericity from space are being taken from a second law of thermodynamics violation. You can't have gas pressure without a container. You can't fly a little ship through the gas we're breathing into a vacuum to take a picture of a sphere Earth. All of the pictures, all of the claims and the little shows, the little plays that they have on television about this region called space are all fake. Instantly made debunked by the second law of thermodynamics and gas law.
Hear, hear.
Not bad. 30 minutes, that was a proper little three-step plan to debunking any notion of heliocentricity that you may have as an audience member. Not a bad start to a Monday.
Yeah, very good, I'd say. Plus, they made they made the stuff up as the years went by to fool us. They made a critical error about their non-force force, which is labeled gravity. And they got two types, Newtonian and Einsteinian, as you said. But the mistake is simple. The gravity, if it did exist in their model, which it doesn't, I just want to say that up front, they say it's stronger at ground level, right? Because the Earth's core is magnetic, and that's what's pulling the oceans and everybody towards it. Well, the higher you go, it's weaker. The closer you are to the ground, it's stronger. So right there, it's telling you that they should have, if they were smart, say that gravity is stronger further away than the Earth's surface, because they're trying to say this gravity that can't even keep the gas on the ground is keeping it next to this vacuum of space where it's weaker. So it doesn't make any sense even if you gave it to them.
Well, is there any scientific evidence of gravity?
No.
So Nathan, do you believe that if you had one floor above another and a gap and a hole between them, the pressures would equalise in the first and second floor?
Yeah, it's called entropy.
Right, so you believe, let's get this straight. So if I have
No, I
two
don't
floors,
No,
lower floor,
no,
and an
it's
upper
a natural
floor,
law. I don't believe this.
you
It's
believe the
natural
pressure
law.
will equalise, do you?
It's natural law. It's not a belief.
Right, so you believe that
No.
if I
Third time. Repeat it again as a belief and I'll kick you out. I'll say it again for a
So you
third
don't-
time.
so
This
you
is
don't
not a
believe it then?
belief. If you interrupt me repeating it, I'll kick you out also. This is not a belief.
see,
This is a
you don't
natural...
believe it.
Right, you've got to be removed. Bastard. Total bastard. No, this is not a belief. Yes, this is a natural law, a law of nature, applicable always. Not a belief. Now piss off. Interrupt me 3 sodding times declaring this as my belief. It's not. It's natural law. If the sky was a vacuum, natural law dictates that the gas would fill the space. Not my belief, sunshine. 3 times. Unbelievable bastard. Moving on. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No.
So there's a reason we ask for scientific evidence of gravity and any viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics. That's because people like Rumpus came along and told us that the whole body of science proved we were on a sphere, until we started to point out what science actually is. The establishment of cause and effect.
Where'd you get gas pressure?
This is a gas pressure.
Where'd
So
you get that?
Where did I get it? From the body of science.
The
Which-
body of science.
That's right.
The
which
body of
shows
science
body of
compels
atmospheric
you.
pressure deteriorates.
You would like scientific proof of Earth curvature.
The whole body of science says so.
The whole body of science is not the scientific method.
Body of science.
Yeah, the whole body of science. Yeah,
There you go.
that's right. The whole body of science says.
You've proved it to yourself, have you, Rumpus? Good lad.
Well, no, the whole body of science has proved.
Good lad, you believe. You have scientific evidence of the radius of Earth.
Body of science provides it.
Shut your mouth about the body of science. Scientific evidence of this R value you will use in your model.
Body of science.
Not body of science.
Yes. Body
You
of science.
stupid religious zealot. Pseudoscience proves nothing model.
So you reject the body of science.
Look, dickhead, you have absolutely sod all scientific evidence for the R value you will insert when you model.
So you reject the body of science and you reject.
I reject
Nothing-
an R value
evidence.
that has no scientific evidence to back it.
Body of science and your own.
Body of
personal
science isn't scientific evidence. That's
Of course it is.
men in white coats talking to each
done
other and
experiments.
peer reviewing. He asked you, what haven't I answered, yeah? And I'm saying you haven't given me an answer for scientific evidence of the R value.
The body of science has numerous examples of that. In fact, I can link you to. I can link you to a geodetic book which goes into this.
Sorry,
in great
geodetic would
detail.
be working on the presupposition that they're on a sphere to begin with, would they not?
No, not.
No. Yes, they are. Yeah, that by nature is geodesy.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are. Then it turns out that, according to these fundamentalist religious zealots who have a ball belief, that science, according to them, doesn't prove anything. Well, that's loosely translated into our pseudoscience formerly claimed to prove we stand on a sphere doesn't prove anything. Because science definitely proves things. It proves cause. That's the whole point. You wouldn't do it if you didn't have a point. Well, the point's to prove cause. Science does prove things. Pseudoscience used to assert we're on a sphere, however, that used to be claimed to prove we're on a sphere. That doesn't prove anything. That's pseudoscience. Hence, we ask for scientific theory based on scientific evidence, not colloquial theory based on bullshit, which is what we were being asserted as being science by people who'd hijacked that term, because we're intrinsically programmed to believe that scientific evidence is proof of things. So if you label a tyre test as science, suddenly people think it's proven that your Goodyear tyres are better than Firestone. No, not science. Definitely not establishing cause and effect with independent and dependent variables. But that's the kind of thing we used to have asserted here. The whole body of science proves we're on a sphere. No, the whole body of pseudoscience used to pretend we lived on a sphere till we debunked it.
I got a certain hostile witness who will sort of agree with us, who says, quote, in science, we always say that you make observations, you have a theory, you make more observations, and it's a very, very tedious process. Wrong. Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork. Quote, Michio Kaku.
Have you got the bromine demonstration for hand? Rumpus is still in the chat saying, so you believe that the pressure would equalise? Yeah, we can show a demonstration of it if you like, Rumpus.
Yeah,
We've got that bromine demonstration. I'll stick it up for Rumpus because he's spamming the chat saying the same thing. Copy and paste. Sad. Same answer I gave you while you were here, you pathetic little man, and you interrupted. It's not a belief, it's a natural law. It's called the second law of thermodynamics. It's the entropy law. Look into it. Not my belief.
And in the other, I have a vacuum.
What in
And
the
if I
world?
open the tap between these two, you will see spontaneously the bromine rush from one to the other. Now that is the simplest, the bromine rush from one to the other. Now that is the simplest change we can have, perhaps, because all that happens is a change in entropy.
As I say, second law of thermodynamics is the entropy law. If you have an available volume for a gas to fill, then the gas will fill it. That's what gas does. It expands in all directions to fill the available volume. As I say, it's called entropy. It's a natural law, not a belief. Let's move on.
It sounds like, from Rumpus's question, though, it sounds like he believes that that would not happen.
And we have a housekeeping question to cover that. How can you have gas pressure without a container? We'd need a demonstration of that, as it's asserted that the Earth is a pressurised system without any containment, and that violates natural law by demonstration. Easy to demonstrate, it's natural law. It applies always. So we have these things called natural laws, applicable always, and a heliocentric model has an idea of gas pressure without containment in a region only visible from a place that we can't travel to and violates this very law. So therefore, we'd need to see that as an actual demonstration. We'd need you to violate that natural law, as per your model violating it. We're never going to get a demonstration of gas pressure without a container, because you can't have gas pressure without a container.
What I was going to say earlier was Michio Kaku and Neil deGrasse Tyson and the rest of the people that are similar to them always are barking at the little people about science and how they've gone and studied and they know what they're talking about and science, and you know, you have to know it. And then when it comes to these simple questions, they have to now say science doesn't prove things. All the trolls, all the ballers. Well, why don't you listen to your high priest that say science? Like Neil deGrasse lately has a master class, and he's talking about science. Okay, let's talk about real science, not pseudoscience. And the minute you bring up all the failings of the globe model, all of a sudden science doesn't prove things. But the whole show is based on science proving things.
Anyone else got anything to add to gas pressure without a container? As this is a mini housekeeping show.
Nope.
Well, maybe the confusion for Rumpus is that he's not too sure whether or not the second law of thermodynamics applies to the Earth. And if he's maybe it's hard for him to remember. I posted a clip of that in Ballbusters.
Right. Also, I'd like to remind everyone that gas doesn't really have weight based on measuring something's relative density within the medium of air. So air does, you can't measure air within air. So that therefore air holds no weight.
The second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth.
Oh, maybe that's why he was asking me about the belief that I held. Because he's under the misapprehension that the second law of thermodynamics, which is a natural law derived in nature, doesn't apply to the Earth.
Where have you got me on record saying that entropy doesn't apply to the Earth? I'd never say such a thing. The second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth.
Yeah, we're dealing with retards when it comes to Rumpus. He's going to talk through me constantly asserting that I've got a belief in something when he asserts quite boldly that the second law of thermodynamics, a natural law, which I stated to him and he rumpused and talked through me 3 separate occasions declaring belief. No, retard. You think this natural law derived in nature applicable to nature doesn't apply to the Earth? Yeah, that's why you think I've got a belief about it applying in demonstration, as shown with the little clip we had earlier demonstrating entropy. Gas filling space. Yeah, that's a natural law. It definitely applies to the Earth, so Rumpus isn't really welcome or useful in this conversation. He hasn't got the vaguest clue what a natural law even is. He thinks that the second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth.
The second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth.
Yes, it does, you complete retard. So anybody who trusts in Rumpus and his opinion of these things and his expression that we've got beliefs, no, we're talking about actual, genuine laws of nature. He's got beliefs in reified X marks the spot's horizons. We, on the other hand, talk about natural law here. So hence he's not welcome when he's declaring I've got a belief in a natural law. Not a belief, sunshine.